running out of games for one thought on every game, but we'll get a couple thoughts on each game. How's that? Can we compromise? Can we do a couple thoughts on each game instead of one thought on every game? And there he is, NFL Insider KC Joyner, the football scientist, and you can follow him, KC Joyner TFS, and he, like all guests, appears via the Boardwalk Honda hotline, streaming live video on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And there he is on the bottom left for you watching at home. KC Joyner, how are you, pal?
Great, how are you?
All is good, and of course, we're down to just 2 games, and that makes us sad. But we get more insight on normally just one thought on the games from you. We'll get a couple thoughts on each game, which should help our listeners out a little more. Let's start in Green Bay with that game, Bucs-Packers. First off, what did we see from the Bucs defense last week that should make you feel, okay, they got a shot to go on the road and win this game?
Well, what I think about the Bucs defense is before Week 13, the team was playing badly across the board. They were giving, in fact, they had lost 3 out of 4 games coming into Week 13, and in those games they'd had 7 giveaways on offense, gave up 92 points on defense, and 1,376 offensive yards. So they've done a fantastic job since. They've held 4 out of 6 votes to 23 or fewer points. They get 9 takeaways in the past 4 games. And the thing is, their strength goes against the Packers' strength, meaning the strongest suit of the Tampa Bay defense is their rushing defense. They've got a fantastic rush defense, and that's what Green Bay is going to want to do is run the football. And Tampa Bay can, when they want to or when they put their minds to it, stop the run. So I think that's a strong suit for them, that they've shored up some of the defensive coverage issues, and they're going to be able to stop the run effectively. Or at least, they've got the track record that says they can.
Yeah, we saw Todd Bowles, who interviewed here, come up with this game plan. If he's scheming this week, what do you decide? To take out their run game, try to take out Adams? I mean, what is the main focus if you're Todd Bowles?
Stop the run. Absolutely, positively stop the run, because the Packers, people like to think, I've been reading some analytics, people say, oh, the Packers are a pass-happy team. The Packers are a pass-happy team. What is it? In 3 of the past 6 games, Aaron Rodgers has thrown fewer than 30 passes. He ranks 12th, I believe it is, in pass attempts for the year. He only has 512 pass attempts. This is not a pass-heavy team. They are a run-heavy team. And look at the yardage totals. If you go back starting in Week 12, when they really got their ground game going. Before then, they had been in a massive slump. 182, 149, 120, 195, 234. They got 79 against the Bears, not a good game, but then they got 188 versus a strong Rams defense last week. This is a team that loves to do inside zone, mid zone. They'll throw in some other plays too, but they just like to come straight up the gut and say, we're going to run this ball with our 3-headed running back duo, or running back selection, and they've got Dillon in this week. So if I'm Tampa, I have to stop the run, because that's what Green Bay wants to do. Power run the ball and throw over the top on a counterpunch.
KC Joyner's with us. Couple thoughts on each game. Of course, we're at championship weekend here, and you can hear both games on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Rodgers, he's playing at an MVP level. Is this the best KC Joyner you've seen from Aaron Rodgers?
It's a different Aaron Rodgers in that, well, first off, he always does well when they can power run the ball and he can throw vertical over the top. He's got, 22 of his touchdown passes that are at or within the 10-yard line. That's the danger. They run the ball to get down the field, and then once you start to get a compressed area, it should be harder to run the ball because everybody's going to be closed in to stop the run. And it ought to be harder to throw the football, too, because there's certain route combinations you can't run in those scenarios. But with the Packers, they go, fine. If you're going to play us, if we get to inside the 10-yard line, we can throw 20 touchdown passes, or we could decide, in the season, or we could run the football. So that's the danger for Tampa Bay, is that even if they do stop the run, if Green Bay does hit those passes, it gets down within the 10-yard line, I don't think Tampa Bay is in as good a place to be able to stop the pass. But if I'm them, I still have to stop the run first, because if I can get them in the second and long, at least know that Rodgers is passing, then I got a better chance of stopping them.
All right. We don't talk much about the Green Bay defense. So they've got Tom Brady. No Antonio Brown, but still Brady. How would you categorize the Tampa Bay offense? The Tampa Bay offense. Elite, good, great. Where do you kind of put them?
I kind of put them, B+, if I want to use a grade category. The thing about Tampa Bay, though, is Peter King did his Monday Morning Quarterback this week, and he talked to Bruce Arians. And Arians said something. I want to repeat exactly what he said because it has a bad word I can't say on the air. But he said that people say that we want to throw the ball a ton. He said, I want to punch teams in the mouth with the ground game. And you look at the past 2 games, 269 yards on the ground the past 2 weeks. And you look at Green Bay's rush defense, and Green Bay's rush defense has struggled at times this year. 156 they give up against the Titans, 140 against the Colts, 173 against the Vikings, 158 to Tampa the first time around. I have a feeling that Tampa, they're not going to be a run-heavy team. I don't think that's who they are and what they do, but I think they're going to go more run-heavy in this contest than they have in a lot of games this year, and they're not going to say they want to go the pass because stat on Green Bay's defense, you look at their passing yards allowed, they've not allowed 300 net passing yards in a game once this year. Not one time, and 6 times they've allowed fewer than 200, in fact, fewer than 170 net passing yards. This is a team that you want to run the ball against because they're very good against the pass and they're inconsistent against the run.
KC Joyner is with us breaking down championship weekend. Now let's look at the Green Bay defense. What are they up against? How do they match up here, I guess? And if you're Tampa Bay, where do you kind of pick on them? There's a better defense, Green Bay, than their defense from last year.
It is better. If I'm picking on Green Bay, what I worry about is Green Bay in what was it, 5 of the last 9 games of the year, they had 2 or more takeaways. Now, Tampa Bay isn't a team that historically had a lot of takeaways, but look, they started the year with 5 turnovers in the first 2 games. And then before the bye, I mentioned because the bye was so perfectly timed for them. They were playing badly. They lost 3 out of 4 coming into the bye. And in those 3 losses, they had a combined total of 7 turnovers and had 2 turnovers in at least in that many in every game. So they were having those sorts of problems. Since the bye, Tampa Bay has only had 2 giveaways on offense in 6 games. I mean, they've never had more than 1. So they've got that issue fixed. But Green Bay has been getting a lot of takeaways too. So I think that's going to be a big factor in it. If I'm Green Bay, I do want to say I'm going to stop the run and I'm going to dare Tom Brady to pass because Brady's more risk-centric in this offense. He's more willing to take a risk. And when he does, I think he has a chance to get a turnover. So if Green Bay can get a takeaway or 2, in fact, I think they get 1 takeaway could be a difference maker. But if they could get 2 giveaways on defense, I think that'd be a difference maker. That'd decide the game.
All right. So ultimately, KC, that's the early game. How do you see this one playing out? What is going on in the football scientist's mind on the NFC Championship game?
An NFC Championship game. I do some picks for NFLPickWatch.com. I do my conference championship picks. I do some write-up for each game, and I give each game a confidence level 1 to 10, 10 being the best. Here's the thing I said about Tampa. They got that win over Green Bay in Week 6, but over the past 2 games, they faced Washington. Washington had had a 4th-string quarterback. They had injuries to their top wide receiver and running back, and New Orleans. They were missing. Their Breeze was banged up with 3 different injuries. Michael Thomas was banged up. They didn't have Taysom Hill. They didn't have Latavius Murray. These 2 really banged up offenses. The Bucs allowed 669 offensive yards and 43 points against those teams. And now they're facing a Packers team that's fully healthy. You add that to Rodgers being able to offset Brady, the game being in Green Bay. I think Green Bay is saying, we know what you did to us the first time around. We're not going to let you do that. I got Green Bay as having more pass to victor, so I picked him with a confidence level 5 in this one.
All right, there you go. He likes Green Bay at home to go to the Super Bowl. Who will they face? Couple thoughts on that one. Buffalo, Kansas City. Looks like Mahomes is going to play. I guess let's start there. That obviously changes things for this game. I mean, do you see Kansas City able to win that game if Mahomes did not play?
1 in 10 chance, maybe 2. I just the saving grace for Kansas City is last year in their run, about midway through the year, they realized we're doing terrible in shootout games. It's just they're bad propositions even for the best offenses. And Kansas City realized we can't go with these games. We've got to protect our defense. They went much more run heavy. With a couple exceptions, they had to go pass heavy against Houston in the game when they fell behind, and they did some pass heavy stuff in the Super Bowl when they fell behind. But basically, they said we want to run the football. And if you look at what Kansas City is doing on offense of late, 134 yards against Denver in Week 13, 179 rushing yards against New Orleans in Week 15, 117 against Atlanta in Week 16. They had that meaningless game Week 17, so we skipped that. They had 123 against the Browns. They're running the ball more often. They may not have Edwards-Helaire, and they might not have Bell, but this is a team that needs to and wants to run the ball more because they know they have to protect their defense. So I think that even had Mahomes not been injured, I don't think they want him throwing the ball max 35 times. They'd love to see him throw it fewer than 30 times.
All right, so I guess on the other side, you've got a very productive Bills offense. And, the Kansas City defense is good. It's not great. So can the Bills keep up and outscore even if Mahomes is playing his best?
They say that Beasley's not on the injury report. In fact, he's not listed as being injured, but he's been struggling. He got injured in Week 16 against New England. Since then, he's caught only 10 passes for 74 yards. Gabriel Davis is out. Zach Moss's ankle surgery, so he's out. I think that that's going to be big for their offense. Now it's pretty much, is Beasley what he was? And it didn't look like he was that last week. And, so now you've got Diggs, and fine, you've got Diggs, but if you want to get in that kind of a game, then you've got Diggs on that side, and the Chiefs had Kelsey and Hill. So if I'm the Bills, I don't want to necessarily get in that type of shootout because I'm a one-legged team in that case. But the thing is, the Moss injury maybe is impactful because the past 3 games, the Bills have only rushed for 206 yards, and their rush defense, they've given up 313 rushing yards in the playoffs, and they've given 140 more rushing yards in 4 of the past 5 games. So if I'm Buffalo, I don't necessarily want to get in a shootout game, but I also have to protect my run defense because it's not doing very well. And I can't run the ball because I only have Singletary. I've got nobody else. TJ Yeldon is not even, he's not somebody even worth considering in that factor. So if I'm the Bills, I've got much more limited path to victory. I kind of have to go Allen and Diggs because I don't have a lot else that I can really trust to lean on.
What do you think of Buffalo's defense in this matchup?
Mentioned that they've given up a lot of rushing yards of late, and I think that they're just not very good against the run. I don't think it's a matter of schematically or something of that nature. They can change it. I mean, they gave up 200 or more rushing yards twice this year. Early in the year, they were having some struggles against it. They had a couple of games. They allowed 47 against the Steelers. Who cares? Everybody can stop the Steelers. I mean, they've had a lot of struggles of late, and they really have been inconsistent in getting takeaways. They had 4 takeaways against the Dolphins in Week 17. Take that game out, they only have 1 takeaway in the other 3 games since then, and since in the last 4 games. So they're not getting a lot of takeaways on defense. Their pass defense has been kind of hit or miss. It's just, if I'm Buffalo, I don't want to trust my defense, and I've got to think of how I'm going to protect them on offense. And I'd love to get a lead and then see if I can get Singletary 25 carries in the contest and hope he can bell count for 1 contest. But if I'm Buffalo, I'm worried about my defense because there's multiple passes that this team that platoon could lose you the game.
All right, it's Green Bay on one side. You like, who's facing them?
Because it's Mahomes. And again, I don't think that the Bills, with Beasley not at full speed, and with Moss hurt, and they've got the rush defense issues. It's in Kansas City. The Chiefs, I mean, they've got their big play players all healthy, and I'm just looking at this and going, I think the Chiefs are going to be more run heavy, but they're going to be run heavy, just like Green Bay is. Be run heavy to an extent, but they'll also go vertical over the top. I think that if they both take that approach, I think both teams may do that. I think Kansas City, just because they have 2 big play threats, maybe 3 if you count their tertiary receivers, because Buffalo doesn't have Davis, they got nobody else outside of Diggs. I got to think Kansas City is the pick in this one, so I got them on the confidence level 4.
Okay, there you go. And many people were hoping for Tampa Bay and Buffalo. Like, who would have ever seen a Tampa Bay Buffalo Super Bowl? Brady against the AFC. It just would be poetic to get it done, but it's going to be Green Bay and Kansas City, which is kind of a historical battle in the NFL, and that would be great too. KC Joyner's back on Monday to look back at those 2 games, and of course, he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. All right, KC, have a great weekend, man. Enjoy the final week of 2 football games.
Hey, you too, Mike. Appreciate it.